Hi, I'm Marcel, and welcome to me screaming into the void, mostly about books. I'm a bit early, but this is also because I'm now preparing for August, which is Women in Translation Month. So I have a project I want to try to do now in August, inspired by where sort of this whole Women in Translation Month, which is a huge thing now on Bookstagram. I don't know if it's huge on BookTok, but probably. But that hasn't always been the case. Now, we have a blogger called, and I'm going to pick her, read off her name, Maytal Radinsky, to thank for Women in Translation, because she was one who around 2014 really gathered traction around the question of why don't we read more women in translation? And while this was sort of debated, what the discussion was talking about was the fact that women, especially at this time, who didn't write in English, was very rarely translated into English. So when we are talking about women in translation, what we mean is women who have had their work originally written in a non-English language, then translated into English. I think because I was lucky enough to sort of talk with her for blogs and stuff like that, when this was sort of gathering tractions. But one of the things that she actually also did at this time, I apologize for the sound outside, was that she in 2019 did a form of, I don't really think it was contest. It was more about gathering a form of list over what people thought were the 100 best books from women in translation. So she asked her readers, because she was blogging mostly, and later everyone who was on social media at the time, to send in up until 10 recommendations of the best women in translations. And then she made a list and she wrote about it and all that good stuff. So women in translation have had a much larger space now today in 2025 than they had in 2014 and 2019. I therefore want to now make a series of videos to encourage you to help me recreate her project. So I'm going to do a series of videos where I read and very, very shortly review all of the 100 books that she had on her original list, and the link to her blog post will be down in the description. And what I want from you is that you will, in the comments, nominate the 10 books that you think are the best books written by women who did not originally write in English, but where the books have later been translated into English. Now, this is something I'm going to do for a while, up until August, so you'll have time to get to know some new books and absolutely be prepared for when Women in Translation Month comes in August. So that's the project, and I'm now going to very quickly review the 4 books that came last on her list of the 100 best books. So on the spot 100 we had The Letter to the King by Tonje Drakst. This is about Tiore, who is a squire about to become a knight, who is tasked by delivering a letter to the king, and all that good stuff happens. I would guess that this is middle grade and very much about escapism, romanticism. Isn't it exciting to imagine that you are a knight or a squire having to save the world? And this is one of the things that I really enjoy about sort of searching and then reading Women in Translation, because a lot of people will say, oh, why should we read books just because they fit into a certain requirement, especially when it comes to diversity? Shouldn't we read the best books? But the problem is that you might not know what is actually the best books out there. And The Letter to the King by Tonje Drakst is a very well-written book for the middle grade. I know that Netflix has created a TV series, and I haven't watched it, but if anyone wants to read a book and do a comparison between the book and the TV series, send me a link. On the spot 99, we got Subtly Worded by Teffy. Teffy is a Russian author who had to flee to France. And Subtly Worded is a short story collection about the sort of environment that she was sort of moving in, especially when she came to France, which is very much the bourgeoisie, and how funny and meaningless everything the bourgeoisie does. And what I really enjoyed about her book is that there was something magical almost about her writing. I don't mean magical as in wizard magical, but more like childlike wonder over her writing. Like nothing matters, yet everything matters and everything is possible. And there was times when I read some of her short stories where I was having to check, are these actually anthropomorphic animals or are they actually human beings? Which made me laugh out loud when I then came to the story, which was about a human turning into a dog. So, very, very funny book. Then we had Our Lady of the Nile by Muksanga Scholastic. This is a Rwandan French author, and the book is about l'ISC in Rwanda, and it's in a time and space where the Hutus are in charge in Rwanda, and about sort of the relationship between the Hutu and the Tutsi in this l'ISC. But more than sort of that, I would say that this book, more than anything else, it's not character-driven and it's not plot-driven. I want to say that it's place-driven, because the characters don't really matter in this book. I don't really think it. I think what matters is the school and the school's placement very close to the Nile. And no one else matters. And it's the sort of the placement of the school and the school itself that is almost driving the plot. That's the best way I can describe it. Please, someone tell me if what I'm saying now makes sense. And by the way, I forgot that Tonya Draxen that wrote Letter to the Kings, she is Dutch. So, you know that. And the last book I'm going to talk about in this video from the list is the book that was on the 97th spot. And it's out by the Japanese Natsuo Kirino. And this is about four very poor working class women, who one of them murdered her husband, and the three others helped her cover up the murder. And then it develops into a horror/thriller story. It's very much a psychological thriller, and I personally loved it. I don't really read that many thrillers, but I so enjoyed the way these four women that were so sort of intertwined and very clearly sort of caring for one another, after this sort of thing happened, ended up sort of turning on one another. And the reasons they ended up turning on one another is simply because these are four working class women in desperate situations, and see sort of this very weird thing happening as maybe a way of getting out of my very bad situation. This isn't really about getting rich or anything, just not sort of drowning, as all of them are drowning in one way or the other. And I really, really enjoyed especially the way money, as in how money is exchanging hands, is a very sort of theme that is handed and sort of brought up again and again and again, how people are sort of having to give money to this person and that person has to turn around and give them to a third person. And all of the details around the money is so specific and is so detailed. It's not just give me money, I gave her money. It's very, very detailed what's going on there, which sort of shows how money does, or the lack of money plays such a part on the relationships of these four women. I read a bit about the book, and I know that it was somewhat controversial when it came out. People are sort of discussing, are these actually good characters or are they not good characters? And I think that is such a valid question, because are these likable? Are they not likable? Are they likable because they're not likable? Wonderful, wonderful book for those who are interested in that sort of thing. So that was the first four books I'm going to talk about from the list. I'm going to try to talk about all of them up until we get to August. And please help me by recommending books written by women in translations in the comments, and let's see if the list that we now will create is similar or different from the one created in 2019. And thank you for listening to me screaming into the void.